Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to this week's edition of Australian Immigration News, proudly brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services here in Sydney. It was reported in the Financial Review that during a Migration Institute Australia conference on Thursday, the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles said that since the 1st of June, more than 2 million visas had been processed. The backlogged applications are now down to 880,000, about a 10% reduction. Unfortunately, over the last 23 years, we have seen this pattern of events many times before, where new applications are processed quickly and then they go back to the old ones who have been waiting for ages. This is a deliberate ploy to make these statistics look as good as quickly as possible, for it increases the percentage of visas processed in a shorter period of time. Overall, though, it's not a fair practice for those who are stuck in the queue. Nevertheless, it is good news to just hear the increase of processing staff, as the article quotes the minister has gone up by 260 since he took office, and another 250 are on their way. The article also quotes the minister that the TISMET will be increased soon, and no doubt in this October's budget. To exactly what, he has kept a closely guarded secret, but my prediction, it will be about 70,000. Let's see how close I will be. The New South Wales Government has just released the information regarding the 491 visa sponsorship for those living in regional New South Wales. Applicants will not have to reach the excessively high pass marks and years of work experience as stipulated on their 491 visa occupation list. Applicants will need to meet the 12 months work experience requirement in their nominated or closely related occupations in regional New South Wales. It is unclear yet whether the RDAs will permit a lesser work experience requirement. We will release more information as it becomes clearer once the RDAs provide their own information. It was expected that this story we raised last Sunday regarding the 189 invitations focusing on the lower pass mark for overseas applicants would be covered in the national media during the week. The Sydney Morning Herald ran the story called "Visa Changes Lowers the Bar to Fill In-Demand Jobs." However, what we didn't expect was the twisted focus of the article. Rather than report on the obvious unfairness to those in Australia who had struggled for so long to increase their point scores, it tried to sell the idea that those selected for the 189 visa were substandard leftovers with lower pass marks. Now, as my regular viewers know, I am certainly not happy that the onshore potential applicants were deliberately overlooked, but it does not mean I'm going to accept skilled visa applicants are demonized unfairly either. One very concerning claim was raised in the article from the Nursing and Midwife Federation, stating, "We don't want people to be given the false impression that they're going to find it easy to get registered here and find out they can't and end up getting exploited and end up getting used as personal care workers instead of nurses." Then another from the New South Wales Teaching Federation, which stated, "It's a failure for individuals concerned and failure for students who deserve nothing less than a qualified teacher for every lesson every day." Can you believe that? It always amazes me that many people who make comments about immigration matters really have no idea what they're talking about. You can't get a skill assessment to be a registered nurse without meeting APRA's registration criteria in this country. The same goes for teaching as well. To gain a skill assessment as a teacher from AITSL requires a very thorough examination of educational background and a very high English level of 7788 on the academic IELTS test. So here we have two union leaders of their professions, for no good reason at all, throwing mud at new potential people coming to migrate to Australia. Probably the main reason these selected applicants would have a lower points level is that they are between the age of 40 and 45 and only scored 15 points for the age factor. Are they then ready for the scrap heap? Certainly not. These applicants would be at the peak of their careers, probably with 8 to 10 years plus of professional experience. They do not deserve to be dumped on publicly. They deserve our respect. Let's hope we don't see any more articles like this surface in the near future. This week, the Victoria Chambers of Commerce and Industry released its federal budget submission, outlining a pathway to activate Victorian businesses. The submission outlined 24 recommendations and priorities, with a major focus on support for Victoria's major industries. In relation to migrant workers, they outlined 4 important recommendations. 1. Allow more flexibility in the visa conditions for migrant workers. workers so they can work in other areas of need when there is a pressing demand. 2. Recognize more foreign qualifications, work experience and training of migrant workers, particularly in areas of critical skills shortage. 3. Reward international workers who have worked in Australia on employer-sponsored and priority migration skilled occupation visas to have a direct pathways to permanent residency. And 4. Change post-study visa duration for international students from between 2 to 4 years to a minimum of 4 years to encourage industry to invest in international talent. The Victorian Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chief Executive said the Victorian Chamber has a vital role to advocate for what businesses need to survive and thrive in a COVID normal Victoria. This will be a critical budget for Victoria as we look to turbocharge our economic recovery. These recommendations are based upon direct feedback from businesses who have been at the heart and soul of our economy and communities throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Many similar themes of these recommendations have been aired publicly over the past few weeks, but it is good to see a major industry representative body lobby the federal government on positive migration incentives before the budget is handed down at the end of the month. It looks like poor Novak Djokovic is on his own with a battle with the immigration department to be able to return to Australia. Of course, when he left Australia as the holder of a bridging visa E, he faced a 3-year ban on applying for another temporary visa to re-enter Australia. According to the Australian newspaper this week, it appears he has been left out on his own by the Australian Open management. The Australian Open boss Craig Tiley is quoted as saying in the article, he hasn't and won't lobby the federal government regarding Novak's potential return. Clearly, after sticking their neck out last time to get him into the Australian Open, it seems they are reluctant to get their heads chopped off once again. Watch this space for further developments. When the former Prime Minister John Howard oversaw the new focus on skilled migration for Australia, no one would have predicted the results that manifested themselves in the 2021 government census. According to an article in The Australian this week, migrants are better educated than Australian-born residents, reflecting Australia's skill-based migration program. Of Australian-born residents, 56% hold post-school qualifications, compared with 63% of migrants, with Indian and Bangladeshi migrants being the most highly educated, 4 out of 5 holding a post-school qualification. The results also showed that Indian-born workers dominated the information technology sector here. 2/3 of software and application programmers were born overseas, with 24,000 arriving since 2016, mostly from India. These census figures have certainly demonstrated the success of the skilled migration program, which took over the old predominantly family-based migration strategies of the 1980s. And it's time for our readers' comments of the week. Firstly, here's from Nishant. Thanks, Karl, for the great content and shedding light on the difficulties we faced. Yes, like you mentioned in the video, getting that higher points is not easy. I spent 2 years of my life sacrificing everything and nearly $23,000 to get that 95 points. Professional Year Program, $8,000. PTE exams, 79 points, nearly $5,000 for 14 attempts and classes and training materials. 1.5 years of my life. 3 is NATI, $1,500 on exam fee and training. 4, Engineers Australia Skill Assessment, $5,000, 2 assessments and CDR. 5, the ACS Skill Assessment at $3,200, 6 skill assessments. And of course this fee does not including, I can see, the cost for him studying in Australia for 2 years and probably a master's program, which would be $50,000 to $60,000. Thanks Nishant for your comment. It sheds light on the extraordinary effort many people make just to get the highest points possible. Most Australians don't know about these facts. So to give offshore applicants priority and a lower pass mark is really just an insult to so many. And they say they want to encourage international students to stay longer. Well, they won't if they're treated this way, and they won't even bother coming here at all. And our second noteworthy comment comes from Ashar. We left Australia for this very reason, that it's the immigration policies kept devaluing our skills and stopped us from growing further. We recently moved to Canada and are in incredible peace. Well said indeed, and I'm sure this is reflecting how many people feel. Enjoy the peaceful life in Canada, and I'm sure you'll find many from Australia will join you soon. That, of course, is Australia's loss and Canada's gain. Thanks to all of you who send in your comments, and I wish I could answer them all here on the show. Well, that's it for another fascinating week in the world of Australian immigration. Thanks to all of you who make the time to leave those comments, and whilst I do my best, it is difficult to be able to reply to them all. Don't forget to hit that like icon to support what we do here. As always, take care out there, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.